Hello, welcome to the Litmus Test podcast, where we put things to the test so you don't have to. My name is Blake.
I'm Pete.
How's it going, guys? How are you, Pete?
I'm doing so good right now.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, full disclaimer to our viewers at home. We had a little technical issue, all right?
Yep.
Shot a whole cast.
Yep.
Now we're doing it again.
Yeah.
All right, but
We decided that what you said wasn't good enough, so we had to reshoot the whole thing.
It is. And I also realized that I might have given some advice to burn money, and
Yeah.
I don't know if our listeners are going to take it seriously. Don't do it. Don't
Yeah.
burn your money.
There's bad chemicals in it, that's why.
Exactly. When our testosterone is already too low,
Yes.
we can't afford it anymore.
So what's on the menu today?
The menu for us today is housing prices and our wait for them to come crashing down
Yes.
in order for us to become homeowners and to embark
Millionaires.
millionaires
That too.
and also embark on the American dream. Everyone keeps talking
Yes.
about it. I want to get into it.
It's a
I want
dream.
to do it. I want to do it. I haven't dreamed in years.
Yeah.
It's a thing, but I want that dream. But we did touch on Pete's foot. We've been doing weekly check-ins with
Yes,
the old boot.
I think that's important. We need to just discuss
It
how
is.
the foot is, how the boot is, really. I mean, the boot.
The boot.
Have you named the boot yet?
I was gonna call him Booty. I just feel like that's a little bit low hanging fruit.
It's it's really low.
Honestly,
right there.
he looks more like a Charles. I'm gonna
Charles.
go Charles.
Chuck, like when you're feeling informal,
like a
or
Chuck,
informal.
like a Chuck Taylor, even
Yeah.
almost. There you
Yeah.
go. Chuck it is. Chuck
Chuck.
the boot. Hopefully,
Yep.
I can in 3 weeks. That's the ETA on this guy. Hopefully, no surgery needed. I don't know yet. I'm excited to find out as well. I'm just livid.
Feeling it. Are you gonna keep the boot after, just for funsies?
I think I'm gonna actually get it submerged in amber.
Oh yeah. Mold.
Like a
Yeah.
cube. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
Like a prehistoric praying mantis.
Right.
I'm going to just put it as a reminder to make sure you get supplemental disability insurance.
Yes.
It's you think that you're 30 years old, you're invincible. You're not. You're not. Run into the beach one time, pop, crack, snackle.
That's all it takes.
All it takes, and your life twisted upside down, kind of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
So today so you already talked about price of houses and
Yes.
mortgage rates.
Mortgage rates and the American dream and how you and I as millennials are
Yep.
trying to get in on that gravy train that
Oh
our
my God.
predecessors got into.
I would love that.
Right? Just like right now we're in a 800 square foot coffin.
Yep.
I mean apartment.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's
I
just
think that's the floor plan is coffin
Is it?
A
it's
or coffin B.
and some of our more expensive apartments out here in the
Yeah.
complex, they're called the mausoleum.
And I'm pretty sure they don't call us tenants. I think they call us debt slaves.
Yes.
Is that it? Yeah. I think that's
yes.
a formal term for
Yes.
us.
Yeah. Actually, I'm
And
thinking
a
about the
number
lease
as well.
On my lease, it says Death Slave 1 and Death Slave 2 for my
Yeah.
wife. Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
And actually, when we get our pool passes, that's what it says on it.
Yeah.
It says
Right. Yeah.
as a disclaimer.
So let's talk about just real quick what the situation is, because it's pretty dire.
Mhm.
Because when we talk about these house prices, it's not like 50 years ago the price went up 10%. That's not the problem.
No.
This is historically, literally, the worst time in American history
Mhm.
to buy a house, and there's two different factors. The price of the house is extremely high,
Mhm.
and the price of the interest rate attached to said price is extremely high as well.
Mhm.
The interest rate's not the highest.
Mhm.
They've been way higher in the 80s. I think they were up to like 14%.
Yeah. I remember talking to
Insane,
a couple of
but the good
Gen
thing
Xers about that.
Right, but
yeah.
it's very insane. But the good thing is that the price of the house wasn't that high.
Yeah.
So eventually, maybe we'll get to that point where we won't have to worry about the interest rate being so high, because the price of the house will go down, and that's really the goal.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's just kind of talk about really why the price of the house went up.
Yes.
I did talk about this earlier in our Discarded podcast. You'll never find it.
Never
sadly.
find it. That's gone. That's not
There's
even in a
some
vault. I
some
took
gold in there too.
I took it out back. I took the double barrel pump and I
Yep.
went pop, pop, and right in the head.
So basically, like I said, I don't want to bring this entire podcast to a screeching halt when I talk about the entire economic system of America.
It's too much.
But
It's too much. You didn't
when
come
you
here
talk
for
about
that.
the price of anything, especially houses, because it's one of the most things that it is directly connected to,
Mhm.
is when we talk about housing prices, we're not just talking about that. We're also talking about banks and where those banks get money from, which is our central bank, informally or formal, wherever you want to call it, because it is a company and not an actual governmental agency. It is the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve, when they set the interest rate, all of the banks basically have to
abide by it
because they would be losing money if they did not. So a bank could very well, if they wanted to, offer a 1% interest rate on a house if they wanted to, but they will soon be out of business because that is not going to be sustainable for them, blah, blah. So when we talk about these prices, when the reason that the prices did go up so high is because the interest rates were so low.
I think
for a very long time.
What did it with like the lowest it was? I think like right at COVID or right before. Like
it was basically 0%.
Was it really?
It was actually 0%, and then
what was
and
that?
then 0.25.
What was I doing during COVID? Oh yeah, I was attending to the dead people. Sorry
Right.
about that. Yeah, forgot.
Works in healthcare. If you couldn't figure that out, but
I'm all right. Just flashback. Sorry.
So now, would I be willing, or would I be wanting a different system? Yes, but we live in this system. We have the Federal Reserve System.
Sure.
And
fractional
also reserve banking and all.
And also the Federal Reserve. I'm sorry for whipping you in the face with my wire there. As far as the Federal Reserve, in our discarded cast, we talked about the Federal Reserve not being a federal entity. You were saying that?
Correct.
I think that's fascinating. That the Federal Reserve is not owned by the federal government.
Correct.
You guys hearing this right now? This is
do you want to take a guess why?
I want to guess it's because somewhere at some time somebody messed up and said we need more money, and then they went to J.P. Morgan, knocked on his door, and said, "Can you help?"
So the reason why to keep it a business is because, do you think that they could get away with the amount of spending and shadow spending if it were an actual government agency that could be audited, that could have a Freedom of Information Act acted upon in it? I
mean, just as an aside, the DOD is that a federal entity?
Yes.
Okay, they can't pass an audit though.
They could audit themselves. We see the budget of the DOD every single year, every month. We can see it. We can see exactly what they spend their money on. Now, do people care? No, but it's your money.
Yeah, it's your money. They're spending it. Don't forget.
So that would probably be the easiest guess as to why the Federal Reserve is actually a company and not a federal agency.
That's some good insight.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that way they can say, all right, so like we really need inflation, meaning we need liquidity. We're going to use the Federal Reserve. If it were a government agency, they would have to pass bills, pass law, or pass whatever budget that would have to force that to happen. Now, do they do that currently? Yes. But on the offside, no evidence, sadly, but the Federal Reserve most certainly can and have pushed money to other people, other businesses in the past, and then they have the ability to basically fund any type of program that they want.
With your money.
It's not necessarily your money. However, when they print money, obviously our value goes down. So if there's only $100 in, or let's just say there's only $100 billion in the U.S. system, which there's way more. But let's just say there's only that much. If they decide to print about $10 more billion, the problem is that now the rest of the $100 billion, although it'll take forever, meaning 6 to 12 months for people to realize, if they print $10 billion and hand it off to a bunch of corporations or anything, hand it off to anything, if that money gets injected, meaning spent into our system, people are going to start to realize that there's more money in the pool supply or in the money supply than there was.
And that's going to devalue the
value of a dollar,
Mm-hmm.
but then also increase the price of everything because money chases goods, and what is a good also? A house. So when you have a whole bunch of money floating around, which we did during the COVID pandemic, but also even before that, just in general, but we had 0% interest rate, so people were able to get easy loans, easy money.
Yes,
they were able to go and just say, okay, I want to invest in this crazy idea.
Well, because we were talking about there's less risk.
Yeah, there's
right.
Less
that's
risk.
That's what we're again on the discarded cast.
Yep.
Brought to you by us. But yes, you were talking about how banks were taking more risks because the interest rates were so low, and everyone was getting their palms greased, and people were getting approved for mortgages that they probably in other times
didn't deserve or shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. And it's just another technical issue. We're just running through them today.
Just running through them.
You know, like as far as I'm concerned,
yep.
I like them. It throws a little bit of a caveat in there, and you know, it keeps me on my toes.
But yeah, so all the banks, all of the financial institutions were more ready to accept risk. But that happened for about 12 years, I think, from like 11 to 22, where we had basically zero interest rates or sub 1.
Was that a fallout from the recession of 08 and 09? Like,
yeah, I mean, when they so during the recession of 08-09, they actually started to produce a tremendous amount of quantitative easing, which is just a technical term for printing more money.
Okay, got you. And just as an aside, Blake has a PhD from Harvard in economics. So you can trust everything he's saying.
I have the internet.
And apparently it's just as good. Don't go to college, kids, because
don't go to college.
Because listen, I'm telling you, student loans won't be forgiven, especially not from Harvard, all right?
So Bernanke was the Federal Reserve chairman during Obama and all that jazz. We have Jerome Powell now. Both of them have relatively the similar ideas, especially during COVID with Jerome Powell. But once 2022-ish hit, people started to realize that we cannot just keep printing ourselves into oblivion. Prices are going wacky. And it's true. You go to Burger King, it is not $5 anymore it used to be when we were 15. It is now $15. And we all know that.
And as an aside, like, why go eat at fast food? Why you paying $15 for a goddamn Big Mac?
Yeah.
Go to the Burger Shack. I mean, like, yeah, it's going to be 20-something dollars, but at least it'll be real meat.
The Burger Shack.
Well, and...
Chef Shack.
Well,
Incorporated.
And not for nothing, again, in the Discarded Cast, we mentioned one of our favorite places to eat, Burger Chef.
Yes, Burger Chef.
It's a fictitious place that gave way to the American dream. And we did talk about, because we dived a little bit into the Federal Reserve, and I wanted to reel you back out of it. Because, like I said, the Harvard education, it really comes out when he gets passionate. And I appreciate it. I really, really do, because I'm learning something. And I hope some of the people here even know what liquidity is. You know, I wanted to stop him there. It is money. It is money.
The ability, like free money that you can spend.
Exactly. You have it liquid. You have it just take some money, you know, right there. But I want to take a step back, and I want to talk a little bit about maybe how we're fighting for this American dream that you and I, as millennials, we've seen some tough times, you know, just I think from 9/11 onwards, it's been a little bit downhill, right? You know, that American dream is getting thinner and thinner and less palpable. And we were talking about how factory workers were able to afford, a healthy lifestyle, a home, put food on the table for a family of 6, 7 kids. You know, again, birth control was an option back there. You just, just had a good time with it.
Everybody was basically just Catholic by default. Right. Because why?
Because why care? Why? Like, you're gonna put sheepskin on? Come on. What is that gonna do? I think it's anti-Christian, to be honest with you. But with all that being said, I really it bothers me that those people worked very hard. Yes, don't get me wrong. But I don't think that we're working any less hard here, Blake. I feel like...
Yeah, I think we're working more efficiently so we don't have to be as manually labor intensive. But as far as mind, everything that we're putting in just as much effort as our
with half the testosterone. We're doing this with half the testosterone. I need you to understand that we're doing the best we can here.
Yeah.
And I can't even afford a house, Neither can he. And we're in this shack, all right? Not Burger Shack. We're in a shack.
Yeah.
And we're paying, and we also mentioned this, the price of 2 mortgages down south.
Basically.
And is that right? We were also talking, Blake, about how the Federal Reserve sets that across the board for the entire nation.
Yeah.
And we talk about how you go from state to state. You can go to Texas and you can be put to death for having some pot. But then you go like a little bit further west. Not death, all right? Just like your whole life in prison. But more than that, you go a couple states west and everyone's smoking it on the corner. And it just begs the question, should we leave it to the state to decide what the interest rate should be for mortgages?
Yeah. So if we had... Yes. We should, but they also, I don't even think it necessarily should be in the government at all, is interest rates. I think, if anything, it should be back into free enterprise, because people kind of probably freak out a little bit about this notion, but think about the idea that you have hundreds of banks across this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
If one of them decided, hey, you know what, we're going to have 15% interest rate, do you think that bank is going to do very well? They will do well with saving money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could put your money in that bank, but they will not do well with loans because they're going to be demanding a 15% return on their investment, which is insane. So they won't do that. So they could try, but they're just not going to do that. But they're also not going to produce 0% interest rates, because what the heck are they doing in the banking industry if they're just throwing money around and then taking money in and then just never paying you anything. Now, but the thing is that if banks decided that they want to offer a 3%, a 2%, a 4%, it depends on their development or their area, their region.
But that's what I'm saying. The cost of living varies from place to place.
It does.
So how come the interest rate doesn't?
Because they want full control over the economy.
And we also, something that we were getting into on the Discard cast was that we also were talking about this is a tough one. I'm trying to think about it. There's so many good points we made, I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I cried when he told me we lost. He turned around and it was like we had a child together, and it's like I don't know where it went. He went outside for candy. And he never came back. But then
we decided to make another one.
We decided to make one with a little bit more jazz.
Real good parents.
Real good. Just listen.
We lost Timmy.
We lost Timmy. Let's make Jimmy.
Yeah.
Listen, Jimmy and Timmy.
Yep.
R.I.P. to both of them.
Yep.
We had a couple of good points, and I want to circle back to it. But getting back to the Federal Reserve, I know that we mentioned The Big Short, that movie.
Yes.
That's something for a layman like myself, someone that's not Harvard education doctorate program for economics. I feel like I got about 33% of that movie. Even with Ryan Gosling taking these types of cuts, he would look at the camera and be like, "I know what you're thinking. Very confused. Don't worry, I'm Ryan Gosling."
Abs were out too, and it's just weird.
Say it again.
His abs were out too.
Oh my God, yeah, he was working out while he was doing the 4D, breaking the wall.
Fourth wall.
Fourth wall. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, not 4D, but breaking the fourth wall and interacting with you, and he was trying to let you know. And even with that, it was tough to follow.
Yeah.
So if someone's trying to explain to you economics and the house of cards that it really is, and you're getting 33% of it, you know what I mean? You really need to go to school to understand this thing.
I'd say the main thing that people need to realize or remember is that it is not that difficult to mess with our economy when you have the number one corporation, if you will, or business to be able to change our entire money supply.
Sure.
So if they change our money supply by 10%, that changes things so dramatically that it basically forces people to pay higher prices for goods, because guess what? Someone else now has more money all of the sudden, so they're now going to pay for, let's say, the hot dog for $1.50 instead of $1, and now you get forced up to $1.50 because of the amount of money that's getting thrown at the hot dog stand. So it's not hard to mess with our economy when it comes to, if you have the ability to change the lever on the amount of money that we have in our money supply.
Gotcha. And that again is done by a private enterprise that's masquerading as a federal entity.
Yep.
Make it make sense, because I can't. But Blake is trying, and
it's hard too, because it's so baffling. It's incredible.
I got to tell you. I mean, Ryan Gosling did somewhat of a good job, but Blake is just he's getting me to 66%, and we're gonna fill in that last third.
The thing about The Big Short is that it was a good movie for layman's.
Yes.
As just getting understanding that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they were basically putting in the development, or basically implementing the idea that everybody should be in homes, because that was dictated by the president. I shouldn't say dictated, but that was the
narrative.
It was the narrative. It was like,
and the American dream.
The American dream. It's, again, very noble to say that everybody should own a home. But honestly, not everybody should own a home.
You shouldn't.
Because
you know who you are. You know.
Even back in 1890, before or during the Industrial Revolution, not everybody owned homes. They were renting. And I'm not saying that everybody should own a home. It would be great if everybody could own a home, but we just don't have the ability to build that many houses immediately. Now, Could we? Maybe. Yes, we should. Let's strive for that. But currently, right now, we are not going to be able to put every single family into a home, and that won't be changing anytime soon. So the idea that the government is going to then say, we are going to do this and force that onto the American people, they're now forcing that onto the banks, saying the banks, you need to offer extremely low interest rates and offer extremely lucrative packages for people to go into homes. And then we are going to reimburse, or we're going to be able to provide enough liquidity for that. But if they do that, it's going to create a boom. And what happens after a boom, or a bubble? It is going to bust, because for some reason people cannot understand the fact that there are such a thing as unrealized losses when it comes to interest rates. So banks cannot sustain that. So, long story short, The Big Short was a great movie, explaining that it was both the government and the corporate, or the banks, working together to create that nightmare. And so, interesting thing though, prices are still really high, or they went down a lot, but they didn't go back down to $50,000 or $100,000 or $150,000 depending on your region. They went down and then kind of dipped, and then what happens? We're right back up, because we had 0% interest rates for like a decade.
Yes, and we mentioned that after the Obama administration, 2011 to
basically with Bernanke, then Jerome Powell, straight into Trump as well.
The first name that you said, Fannie Mae,
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that's the housing development agencies that the federal government has. They're basically in charge of trying to get lower income people into houses.
Okay, got you.
Right.
Got you. So, and also, so I feel like we did dive deep into it, and we did this in the Discarded Cast too. We just reeled back a little bit, just because I know that sometimes it can get a little overwhelming with all of the additional information we're being thrown at you. We are learning a good amount over here, and I hope that you guys are too. I really am. I swear. Even more than Ryan Gosling could do with his abs. But I also want to talk about the impact that certain corporations, like we were saying, BlackRock, right?
BlackRock,
Zillow, Redfin, those companies that want to buy up these buildings, these homes, right? We're talking about single family homes at an all-time low. Today's day and age, right? And it's kind of crazy to me that they're trying to get you dependent on them, right? Yes. And we were talking about, you just want you satiated enough, just distracted enough, so that they can, put that carrot where it don't belong, right? We know where that is, we know. It's not a baby carrot either. It's one of them. It's one of them wild carrots.
Just going off of what you were talking about with BlackRock and Zillow and Redfin having all this money to be able to invest into that many homes.
Monopolize it.
We do not have the numbers on hand, but it's millions of home, or millions of dollars and billions of dollars to be able to pour into single family homes. Where's that money coming from? So Redfin, Zillow, I can understand them a little bit more. They have an extremely awesome app. You get to be able to use it. I'm sure they make a ton of money off of just commission based off of the fact that you search a house, you then get to that blah, blah. You get the point. They probably make a ton of money. They probably have a good product.
Sure.
Where did BlackRock get their money, though?
I'm going to tell you right now, anything that I've seen about BlackRock in the media, it's been like the devil. It's been, they purposely do not want to know. So, they don't want the public to know what they do.
So
I don't know what they do.
What they actually do is they hold 401ks. They hold they're basically just a very, very, very large
hedge fund. Okay. What about like what is the other one? Vanguard. Is that another same type of deal?
So my theory is that I just don't see a company that only started about 25 years ago somehow owning like 60% of like the 401ks and all of the retirement funds, all of the Roth IRAs and all of the accounts that people like to hold for a lot of money. I just don't see, for some reason, that one company or two companies hold like that much of the market share
and that short of time.
Some sort of help. And I just think that there's got to be some government money, or I should say not government money, Federal Reserve money that gets funneled into them.
Because we learned that's not a federal entity.
And the interesting thing is, who do you think is going to get bailed out when we do have a bust?
Not us.
Yeah, the small banks are not going to get.
Oh yeah.
They're not going to get bailed out.
Yeah.
The Silicon Valley Bank, that was big enough where they were like, maybe we'll go ahead and do that.
But I also saw something about like the percentage of people that had money over $250,000.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, was like a ridiculous amount
because it's a San Fran.
There you go.
So
but the FDIC only covers
up
what,
to 250,
right? So
then all of a sudden they're like, you know what?
So
you guys are just super
that
great.
that bailout that like so the federal government bailed out those other richer,
the customers, not the business, technically. Yeah.
Okay, and who footed the bill on that?
Of course, us.
Okay, got you.
And
Good to know.
But again, it's not that they took money out of my account or your account, or they're going to tax us more, because that's not going to happen. What they're going to do is they just printed the money to be able to cover that.
Gotcha.
And then on top of that, the Federal Reserve created what was already extremely taboo back in like 2005-ish, I think. George Bush decided to have an actual stimulus bill, and people were like, "What is that? Like, you're just going to print money and give it to people? That's crazy. That's going to cause inflation."
Dick Cheney allowed that?
Yeah, right.
Really? Did he? Is that like
Big
he was
Daddy.
just in the background with the shock and he's like,
But see, they want that. They want more money to be floating around.
He just looks like he sweats tiny steaks.
I'm sure he does.
God, that.
But anyways, so
But yes, we were talking about again the American dream is kind of going by the wayside, and that you and I, especially the millennials, we get such a bad rap in just society. Just everyone's millennials like to complain. They want their student loans forgiven, this, that, and the other. We're working hard, man. We're trying to have that same life. We don't want it handed to us. I mean, some people might, but we don't. Yeah. The people like you and I, we're really fighting for what's rightfully ours, and
it's a normal life, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just, and instead of we also in the Discarded Cast we were talking about how people are building up instead of out. Yeah. And I think that if you look at like places like Japan, they're doing it efficiently. It's clean. They got metro systems. They got public transit. Like, I got to tell you, they're making do with that little sliver of land they got. I mean, it's not little. Don't get me wrong.
It's like California size,
a
little bit.
But still, like they can fit how many people in such a square packed thing, but I feel like with our situation, especially on the island, it's you look around, there's 55 and over communities. There's these luxury apartment complexes. They are right in front of us, showing us what their goal is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you didn't get in when the getting was good, back in the day, that's it. I feel like we kind of missed the boat, in a lot of ways. And I'm not sure if we talked about it on this cast or the Discard cast.
Yeah.
We're talking about my parents being immigrants.
Discard cast. Go ahead.
Do
it again.
We did on the Discard cast, was what we talked about on the Discard cast. I made a couple of points. My mother came to this country making $1 an hour as a waitress, and she was able to save up enough money for years and years and years. Tips. We were talking about being flipped quarters, and if you didn't grab the quarter, it's gone. You didn't. That's it. You didn't get that quarter. But she was able to save up $60,000 American.
Yeah.
Bought herself a house in Nassau and was able to finesse that into a home in northern Queens. So now, God forbid anything happens to my mother, at the bare minimum, her children have $1 million home in northern Queens that can help us build some generational wealth.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you and I, if our parents, I'm saying at one point or another, didn't own a home, again, they missed the boat. We're missing the boat too.
Yeah.
And trying to build that generational wealth when you don't have that foundation is doubly as hard.
Right. And just like to bring it home with the litmus test entirely, why is it that all of our parents and grandparents tell us, well, we just bought a house, or we just bought a house like around 25, 30 years old. And then we're like, how? Because and they're like, oh, we spent this much and did this much work, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you're like, again, how? Because it doesn't make any sense. Because if I did the same amount of work, I'd have to work until I was 50 to buy a house outright.
Yes.
Nobody could just buy a house outright on a regular median salary.
No.
It's insane. So especially here, I mean, we're on Long Island, New York. And so that is easy. At the very least, $300,000 to $400,000 easy.
$300,000 to get you a shack, not like this shack.
Yeah, 300. Like, let's just say a normal house is about $450,000 here, and so you'd have to. don't know how much. I don't know how long I'd have to work to save up that much scratch to be able to buy
it outright.
House outright.
That would be my. Can I tell you? That would be my dream. If I just
I'd love that. Everybody would love that.
Right? You just bust your ass. You work. You're like, I saved up $200,000. You go to the bank. You don't even go to the bank. You don't even need a bank. You need a lawyer. You need a lawyer. You need a couple lawyers, and then you go, hey, listen. You just go with a briefcase. That's what I'm imagining, and at least just a briefcase of unmarked bills, of course.
Yeah.
Just to make it like a little bit like high risk, high stakes.
Of course.
You put the briefcase on the table. It's like, and then you turn around, you push it to them. You got the stuff, and he's like, "Yeah, we're fucking in it."
Yeah, we got the goods. It's literally right here.
I popped the first F-bomb. I apologize to our listeners. We're trying to keep this G-rated for your kids.
Yes.
Your kids have no interest in this. I'm going to tell you
sure
right now.
Don't.
The testosterone podcast, maybe. But this one, it's going to go right over their head. Whoosh. But we also were talking about Shark Tank, and I feel like that show is kind of like, and it's been I think like 20 seasons now, dude. It's crazy. It's been for a hot minute, and if you look at it from the beginning of it to now, the amount of like the narrative has changed. Like in the beginning it was more like lighthearted, and it was like, oh, this is little Jimmy.
Yeah.
Little Jimmy sells plants and he wants to give plants to everybody. And if you buy one plant, 5% of plants go back to Jimmy's fund. Jimmy's fund. Support it. And it was like, I don't know, lighthearted, and everyone wanted to help. And it was like, it wasn't about just build it up, invest in it, keep going. And nowadays you hear, as soon as they come in, they give you all of these acronyms and stuff.
Looking for P&Ls.
Right? And finally they say to them, what's the bottom line? What's your profit? And then if they see that it's lucrative enough, they go, where are you doing your manufacturing? Where are you doing your distribution? Yep. And if they say the USA, these American capitalists are like, oh my God, like I could save you $1 million a day if you just send it to Southeast Asia. And that is inherently the problem, is that I feel like, you amass this wealth, and then you just want to keep tagging onto it by shaving costs. And as we see right now, man, you can order anything you want on Amazon, but I want to say 9 out of 10 products I get off Amazon, the worst quality stuff I've ever seen.
Yes.
It's the convenience is there.
Oh yeah.
But the quality is, even in the last 10 years, dude, it has dropped substantially.
Yeah.
And to the point where I don't even like ordering from Amazon anymore. I got to tell you,
unless it's for like a thing that is made out of one piece.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
The more moving parts, the less I trust it.
Yes, absolutely. Or if it's like, like furniture. Don't buy furniture on Amazon, please. It will break. It will break. That was a little bit of a slip there.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to say. It's just frustrating that, my wife and I talk about this all the time, and she goes, if things were made in America, distributed in America, you would have to pay. That would be back on you. It'd be on the consumer, right? But if I know that it's actually a quality made product, I wouldn't mind shelling out more money for something I know it's going to last, dude.
Yeah.
And that's what, the last generation, the generation before that, our grandfathers, that's what they had. They spent a pretty penny, but that thing lasted a lifetime.
Right.
But I digress, man. It's frustrating. It is very frustrating.
Well,
but
it gets into, what you just discussed. It gets into like, it's hard to blame the business owner for thinking, well, I can now produce a lot more for less money. But obviously, if they invested it here, they would also get higher quality, almost guaranteed. But I can't say that because I would imagine some very good quality manufacturers in China that hire the best. But I can't say for certainty that China has the best quality manufacturing skills
or labor laws.
And the fact that there's literally slaves in China working on your products for you and
shout
for
out,
me that
shout
I'm
out
sure
to the
I bought,
Uyghurs.
but I just don't know. Yeah. And it's just sad. But if everybody decided to, let's say, invest into American manufacturing, they would be doing it at a loss. For sure.
Oh, 100%.
However, there would be higher quality. So it just depends on what type of business you're running and what type of business like you're trying to invest in. But man, it'd be great if everybody did that. But just kind of getting back to the American dream and house prices in general, we did talk about the rise in the price was caused by the low interest rates. There is a fall in prices, thank God, that is coming, and we believe that it's going to keep going.
I saw the consumer index report looking promising.
Right, yeah. So the inflation is downish, but it's not really down. It's more just staying the same, which is fine. And so that's also something that we talked about on the Discard Cast is how the Federal Reserve believes that they're the ones who are fixing inflation with just interest rates in general, but they're not necessarily doing that. They're just not printing.
It's not a direct correlation.
It's not perfect because it's also price. Like doesn't mean anything when it comes to inflation. People, that's the lie that has been told, is that when you look at inflation, it's really just about how much money there is in the money supply. It's not about prices. Prices are a symptom of inflation. So either way, it doesn't matter.
And I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I know that we also touched on what it would take for you and I to become homeowners.
Right.
Blake.
And so that's really, like it would take a tremendous amount of willpower and effort of everybody to do nothing and stop buying houses.
Just stop it.
Please and thank you.
Look at yourself.
We'll get into a house soon enough if you just stop buying.
Look at yourself right now. You don't deserve a home right now.
But
right?
To be fair, it is not the individual which we are probably looking at to say stop buying. It's really the big businesses who are being able to have that much liquidity and buy that many houses. But the funny thing is, now they're trying to sell as fast as they can, or they will be selling as fast as they can, because guess what? They also now have high interest rates on the houses that they purchase.
True.
Because sometimes they don't get a 30-year fixed mortgage like they should.
Yeah. You're talking about doing variable?
Some of them do, and that because it just makes more sense at the time.
Yeah.
But
that's risky.
Happen.
Oh, that's risky, dude. That's risky.
And then guess what happens to the inventory? It shoots up, and then price goes down, and then we are finally able to get into a house.
Then we can capitalize on people's suffering.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, and not in that way, but listen, in order for some other people to eat, other people got to starve, right? That's capitalism in a way.
Well, yeah, but the good thing about capitalism, which, oh man, it's getting the whole...
we're going down into it.
The good thing about about capitalism is that everybody becomes wealthier. I mean, even the most poor person in America today has more access to anything that anybody else in any other country could even dream.
Look at us two schmucks. We afforded a podcast setup.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
This funny
and a water bottle.
And a water bottle.
And a water bottle.
But the funny thing is just, so let's get into all of that soon, but let's just take one quick word from our sponsors.
Burger Shack.
Come and eat it.
I got to tell you, that Burger Shack burger just hits like nowhere else.
It's like a train.
Like a train.
Both ends.
It does. Your pappy used to work at Burger Shack.
Goes in fast, and you know the rest.
Goes in fast, comes out faster.
Yes.
Like
speeds up.
Like a speeding bullet.
Yeah.
All right. What was that? It's like faster than a speeding bullet. What we described Superman as. Faster than a speeding bullet. Stronger than something.
Oh man!
But that's Burger Chef and what it'll do to your bowels. So I think that it's important for us to, even. I don't want us to lose the American dream, Blake. And
I also don't want this to be a struggle sesh every single time we talk on this podcast.
Absolutely
because
not. We're having some laughs.
Oh yeah,
we're having some laughs. I'm crying inside, but we're laughing on the outside. And as long as your therapist doesn't see that, you'll be okay.
But what we should talk about though is. When we do finally get to be able to realize our American dream and get our white picket fence, because that's what's really important.
And manufacture overseas.
What else is there when you have the house?
So can I take the reins on this one?
Please do.
Number one, living on Long Island, one thing you got to know. There's a lot of passive-aggressive people here.
Yes.
Some would say more aggressive than passive. However, with that being said, I myself, I remember when back in my college days, some buddies of mine used to rent out houses. And of course, living next to the college house, they used to throw parties. Like, oh my God, like these kids again, right? But I remember I would, go hang out after class, go take a ride down, have a beer, whatever, with my friends at their house. I would the parking situation would always be really tight, right? You'd have 9 cars in the driveway because 9 people were living in that house, even though there was only 3 bedrooms. A lot of air mattresses, a lot of sticky floors.
Right.
But with that being said, I remember one vivid instance, just to give you guys as an aside of what it's like to be a homeowner on Long Island. I remember parking adjacent to somebody's front lawn. Yeah. And the guy had a pull-in driveway that could fit easily, I want to say 8 cars, like a double-decker driveway, right? And I parked my car there. I went inside my friend's house. I came out about 2 hours later, going to drive home, This man took 2 cars out of his driveway and boxed me in to a spot.
Oh.
Dude, boxed me in to the point where the license plates were almost touching. And I'm like, oh, okay, bro. Like, and in my head, I'm like trying to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, being like, all right, you know, like he had to pull out his car. Maybe he's got some work going on, whatever.
Maybe he's only going to be here for 3 minutes. You know?
Right. Maybe he just has maybe he has some people coming to lay down some concrete. I don't know.
You never know.
Or I'm just giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
I proceed to get into my car. I'm looking at both sides. I'm like, and again, this is before backup cameras. I'm driving a freaking Hyundai Elantra 2010. I mean, base model.
Classics.
I mean, that car just exploded the minute I paid for it. But I am getting into my car. I'm sizing it up. And I look over yonder to the front porch of the house who I'm parking in front of. And I see the guy at the door. He's got his storm door closed, the front door is open, staring at me. He's like, hit my car. Do it. I want to call the cops, bring them in from the actual problems that they're dealing with to address the situation. This situation. Most important, right? I then look outside, I look at the guy, I smile, give him a thumbs up. He didn't know one crucial aspect of me. He thought I was from Long Island. From Queens. We know how to get out of tight places. I proceed to make a 97-point turn. I got out of there crisp and clean, and I drove off. Never wanted to bring my car back there because God knows the next type of things that they would do. They would, when we had parties there, oh my God, the next day, tires all slashed. Oh my God. It was like that. Neighbors in Long Island are aggressive, and something that I can't wait to do is wake up Sunday morning, maybe a crisp 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And just start that lawnmower up. Start that leaf blower up.
Yep.
You know, just go to that white PVC fence, you know, and just make sure I get as close to their bedroom as possible. I'm excited for it, you know. But
so this is what you're going to do with your American dream is wake up begrudgingly at 5 yourself.
Yes.
To start up your lawnmower.
Yes. To pass the torch down, right?
I see.
You know what I mean? To pass the baton, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm completely kidding. What I really want to do as a homeowner is that I would like to start a family, Blake. I would like for my wife and I to be able to have children and raise them in a home that's not 800 square feet and you know, elevated.
They say you need at least 1 square foot per child.
Unfortunately, yeah, I know. So
you could have 800 right now. You'd be fine. I'm just kidding.
I mean,
how much space are you really occupying when you're standing?
How long would 800 kids take to make?
I don't know.
That's times 9
How
months.
many women would you need?
Whoa, we're talking about that.
One woman can't make 800.
I mean, you're trying to get me in trouble here. Yeah. All right. I mean, it depends on when you started.
But
all right?
so that's it.
But
you just want to start a family.
I want to start a family.
Run your lawnmower.
I know. I want to.
Is it a sitting down lawnmower?
It's a John Deere. It's a John Deere. One of those one of those ones where I'm looking at the neighbor and they're like, this guy's got it.
That's important.
This guy made it, you know, and not just in like my investments, my 401k. No, the John Deere lawnmower, the ride along. But aside from that, I would like to. I kind of got this crazy urge to nest.
Yeah.
And you know, start a garden, dude. Grow some of my own food. Yeah. You know, have a little area to play basketball, to play, you know, with the kids. Just really take advantage of all that space that you're paying for.
Right.
And to get into some hobbies, man. I've been wanting to woodwork. You know, I can't woodwork in this apartment on the balcony. I'm gonna get hit with some type of fine, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, but I really feel like especially having a home for a kid, when a kid grows up in a you know, a 3-story home as opposed to an apartment, there's a difference there, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's something that just because we were born at a time that's a little bit later, missing the boat.
Yeah.
I feel like we should strive to get that dream back for our kids and to let them have, you know, a nice life where I remember just going out, you know, like, bye mom, I'll be back at 5 o'clock. You take your bikes and you were out all day with your, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but people used to say like, oh, in the 70s, you used to do that, blah, blah, blah.
I did that in the thousands.
But that's what I'm saying.
In the 90s.
In the 90s and thousands, right?
Yeah.
We used to
took my bike and I came back around dark.
Exactly. You know, Mongoose. Shout out Mongoose. Best
Yes.
bikes.
Yes.
But yeah, man, that's really my dream. And you can't really do that with apartment buildings and just being on top of each other. There's nothing worse than if you get a bad neighbor upstairs, bad neighbor downstairs, dude. It's just the guy downstairs cooking Indian every night.
You don't know these people.
And the guy upstairs, a tap dancer. You know, it's just like, it's, what are you doing? You know, you're trapped. And that's my dream. Like, just to deal with my own stuff, my own family, and just some privacy, man. You know, some privacy.
Yeah. Being able to play music really loud.
There you go.
It's not like I want to do that every night, but I want to do that at least. I want to have the opportunity to have that.
I could imagine you like Swedish House Mafia. Like,
of course. Don't we all?
And it's just strobe lights. It's strobe lights.
Yeah.
You know?
Only when my SO is not here.
I mean,
I do that.
Do you really?
No.
Yeah. I mean, just like.
But I think, everybody kind of has that similar dream, because like I also want to, oddly enough, I also want to have a garage.
Yeah, of course.
Literally just to be able to do like the most simple of woodworking.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be cool to have a lathe, but that's extreme. But have some sort of ability to be able to build or repair things that break in the house.
Yes.
Then on top of that, have a 2-car garage so both of the cars can fit.
Sure.
And then on top of that, have the ability to have all the tools within that garage so that I can repair or do anything that I want to my car. And that is super exciting to me. I would love to be able to actually have a space indoors in the AC that I can actually work on my car.
Yes.
And do little repairs and stuff like that. But apartment life, you just cannot do that. And then on top of that, having a family would be amazing, obviously. Having also, I want to have another room dedicated. And I'm serious about
just something
this.
besides sleeping or pooping?
Yes.
That'd be nice.
A completely reimagined room.
It's crazy.
But this room is dedicated to a theater room.
Yeah, why
I'd
not?
love to have a theater room.
Course,
you don't
dude.
need you just need a bedroom to be a theater room.
That's it.
Black it all out. Get a screen. Get a projector. I don't know why I said it weird. And there you go. You got a movie room and couches. Maybe like 2 couches. Maybe what you can do also, my friend did this, is you can build a very, very, very simple elevation or elevated
like steps almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just basically like 2 to 3 feet. You put the first couch on that, put the second couch on the bottom on the carpet. Boom. You got theater seating right there.
That's it. I've actually a buddy of mine. Buddy of my friend.
Can't wait to do that.
Yes, a buddy
of
my brothers did that, and we used to come there every Friday, dude. In his garage, we would do that. Just watch the movies.
Yep. But I can't do that.
You can't do that
right now
in this coffin.
No.
That we pay several mortgages for.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit more. What else do you want? Do you want to rev that Mustang in the driveway?
Oh, yeah.
Just to piss off Jim next door.
Oh yeah. Well, I also want to do that and then think about the amount of money that I'm saving.
Yes.
While spending it on a mortgage, not something that I'm throwing my money away at an apartment. Yes. So the ability to even if my mortgage is relatively high, I wouldn't mind if I knew that money was actually going to basically my own bank account in the future, because you can sell your house at the end of it, even half your house. If you only have half equity, you can sell it, and then you just get to keep a lot of your money. Not all of it, but
do you cut it in half?
Yeah, you sell half of your house.
You're just like,
literally.
I want this half.
Yeah,
you take that half.
It's funny. We're making this joke, but duplexes do exist.
They do. They do. It happens.
So
it happens. I would take a lot of restructuring for the frame and everything.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But no, man, I completely agree with you, and I hope a lot of people listening to this understand that we understand your frustrations, and we want that American dream too, man. And I hope and I pray, Blake, that we do wait it out. We sweat out these companies that try to capitalize when the getting was good.
Yep.
And I hope that they realize that they're not going to make that big buck on us like they were. They're going to make a buck on us, but not the big buck.
But yeah.
It's like a baby carrot instead of that wild carrot.
It's just funny because we're all excited for the fact that that prices of houses are going down, but the problem is that at the end of the day. Those prices crash, then businesses get threatened. Those businesses are going to get bailed out by our government, and then at the end of the day, we're all just like, well, the people which did it all wrong get to get bailed out, and then we are promoted. Just sat there. We just sit here with all these high prices, and we're like, well, I wish something would happen to the people which did wrong by us, like mainly the Federal Reserve and the banks who did this.
But I will tell you, I think that in just doing this podcast, we litmus test the housing market to some degree, right?
Right.
And I feel like just us opening up this conversation for you guys, like, you might have these frustrations, but I feel like we kind of went into detail about a lot of how we got here, how we're getting through it, and aspirations for a better tomorrow. I feel like it's important to have that hope. We always want to think that we're living in the worst times. But if you look back, dude, World War II, like, everything. Well, I'm saying 1940, like, everything's good until it ain't. You know what I mean? Like, constant threat of nuclear war. I mean, we still got that. But I mean, I feel like the Cuban Missile Crisis was a little bit more heightened levels of anxiety with that. Right. So I think no matter what time you live through, Blake, there's always going to be bad times. There's going to be some good times. Right. I think penicillin's pretty cool. Trade that. Right. Just like having antibiotics.
Polio vaccine.
Right. Just things that, we take for granted, like being able to walk on 2 feet. You able-bodied man. Yep. But I really think that there is reason for hope. I think that if you are feeling that you're in a rut like we are as millennials, and moreover
financially everything else is great.
Financially, it's not great. It's not great. I'm working on it. But I like I said, I think and I've said this many a times, I think that our generation gets a bad rap, but not for nothing. There are a lot of us out there that still have the hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and the work ethic to get there. It's just we all gotta just keep pushing through it, and we're gonna get there, man. We're gonna get there. We're gonna. You know what? I could see one day we're gonna have a podcast studio in one of our rooms.
Exactly.
How about that?
Or just buy a studio.
True. or two birds, one stone. Make a toilet studio.
Yes.
So you can poop while we put it to the test.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. Blake, any other mentions you want to?
No, I think we pretty much covered why and what we can do about it, and keep the dream alive.
Keep the dream alive.
I think it'll happen.
Personally, and if you're around your local burger shack, go support it. Go support it. It's a good place.
Yep. It has 2 different names, Burger Chef and Burger Shack, and you got to find the right one.
Yes,
because you.
It's different amounts of diarrhea.
Yeah, but it is diarrhea for sure.
Yes,
guaranteed.
Yes, in and out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's another cast in the books, Blake.
I think so.
I think that is.
All right. Well, if you liked it, like it on the page. And subscribe.
And if you loved it, subscribe it. All right. I see a lot of views. I don't see any thumbs up though. You know who you are. All right. I know it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to sign into YouTube, but do it. What else are you doing? You're not doing anything.
You just need to add like the little edit of Shia.
Just do it. Make your dreams come true.
Just do it. Do it. Just do it. Do it.
We'll see how good our editing skills are, and maybe we'll do that. Probably not.
Just do it.
Yes, we're going to catch you next time on the Litmus Test. I've been Pete.
I've been Blake.
And we'll catch you next time.
See you later.